The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
On that day, as evening drew on, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us cross to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took Jesus with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. A violent squall came up, and waves were breaking over the boat, so that it was already filling up. Jesus was in the stern, asleep on a cushion. They woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Quiet, be still." The wind ceased, and there was great calm. Then he asked them, "Why are you terrified? Do you not yet have faith?" They were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this whom even wind and sea obey?" Friends, the Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Gandang araw po sa lahat. Good day, everyone. At sa mga tatay na nanonood, mga tatay po natin, classmate, kapatid, kakilala, Happy Father's Day po sa inyong lahat. Although may mga iba, bumabati din po ng Happy Father's Day sa mga pari kasi dahil daw ang tawag sa amin, Father. Kaya Happy Father's Day po sa lahat. Yung mga ilan po sa inyo dyan na nakakakilala po sa akin would know that I spent my first 6 years in an island northeast of Surigao del Norte, now called Dinagat Islands. 40 nautical miles ang layo sa mainland Surigao, which on a straight line is approximately 73-74 kilometers. Pero mas feel po kapag dinescribe ko sa inyo that it takes us no less than 5 hours on a wooden marine lancha, to go to the mainland. So ganun po katagal. But I'll have to tell you, I have never been a fisherman myself. I am not a fisherman today and probably would never be one given the circumstances in my life. But this life for 6 years in a faraway island offered me a very privileged view of what the seas are all about. Kasi po, before going and being missioned to that island, ang idea ko lang naman po ng dagat, beaches, fun, family, summer, vacation, etc., etc. Doon po na iba at lumawak yung pag-unawa ko po sa dagat. And this much I can confidently say and even declare, ito po, naniniwala ako. There is no way anyone can sleep in a boat when there is a violent squall or a terrible life-threatening tempest at sea. Kahit po siguro lumaki o pinanganak ka sa dagat, kahit po siguro yung ninuno mo hanggang sa tatay mo, syokoy. It is my experience and understanding, there is no way you can sleep pag niyuyugyug na po ng bagyo at malalaking alon ang sinasakyan mong bangka. There is no way you'll be able to sleep. Pero, as we heard in the gospel today, dear friends, ang Panginoon po today is asleep like a baby. Tulog. Ano po? Ang kutob ko po, kaya masarap yung tulog niya kasi sabi sa gospel, in the stern, he was sleeping on a cushion. Nakakutsyon naman pala, kaya ho nakatulog. But kidding aside, baka din po, kaya siya nakatulog sa sobrang pagod. Kasi remember, he's been going around in his short public ministry of 3 years, healing and preaching. Napapagod din naman po yung mama. No wonder, sabi niya, let's go to the other side of the shore of the Sea of Galilee, of of Tiberias, Lake of Galilee. Pagod naman nga naman yung tao. But again, I maintain, there is really no way anyone can sleep in a boat when there is a violent squall or a terrible, life-threatening tempest at sea. But I think Jesus is driving home a very important point. Kung tinanong po siya nung kanyang mga disciples, do you not care? Di ka ba nababahala? We shall be perishing in this storm and in the sea. But Jesus' response is very, very carefully well thought of. Yes, Jesus, so to speak, seems to be saying, yes, there is danger. Yes, life is at risk. Yes, your future and even your livelihood are at stake. Nakataya ang maraming bagay na ayaw nating mawala sa atin. But come to think of it, if Jesus' first response is to remain asleep on a cushion, sleep, if we try to look at it, is a symbol of peace and calm and tranquility. Di po ba? Sleep reinvigorates our body and spirit. In this time of the pandemia, may emphasis na po tayo na sleep boosts our immune system, strengthens our bodies, and lengthens our life. And Jesus seems also to be saying, yes, I understand that primordial waters are a common symbol of chaos. Yes, I understand. Jesus seems to be saying, turbulent seas are a metaphor to describe the plight of those overwhelmed by circumstances of life. Yes, I know, I understand that faiths are or can be shaken to the core. Sabi pa nga malimit, when it rains, it pours. Doon po sa karanasan ko sa Dinagat Islands, in that little sleepy town of Tobahon, as in po, sabi ng mga millennials natin, waves are as big as cathedrals. No exaggerations here. One has to see them to believe them. But Jesus is driving home an important point. Ano po yun? God is in control because He created the world. This is the only thing Jesus wants us to be convinced about in our personal and communal journeys in faith. That either besieged by trials or not, ang unang tanong po natin this particular Sunday, how tightly do we hold on to this reality? The reality that at the end of the day, in the larger scheme of things, God the Creator is still in control. Dagdagan po natin yung katanungan na ito para sa ating pagninilay at sa ating pagkilos. When was the last time you were truly, genuinely overwhelmed by the events of life? When? And the next question, when you were experiencing these overwhelming trials in your life, how did you behave then? Our readings today, my dear friends, provide us deeper insights. Look at the first reading from the book of Job. The book of Job reports what they call a theophany, or in simpler terms, a self-revelation of God. God and Job were conversing. God in the first reading was ushering Job into a deeper appreciation of certain aspects of God's own self and power. Job is led to look beyond the natural world that he knows and understands into a new look and a new vision about the forces of nature. There is no doubt that the creator of this well-working universe is the very one also who is also posing the question. Balikan po ninyo yung first reading. It was God who was posing questions to Job, but God also himself actually is the answer to his own questions. So this, what they call theophanic questioning by God, should have helped Job realize that regardless of the fury of the storm and the danger it poses for all, God is in control of the elements of the universe. And this should lead to a deeper confidence in God and courage in the face of threats to our own safety and security. Question is, in our life journey, in our faith journey, patungo po ba tayo sa ganung uri ng malalim na pag-unawa and even appreciation of our faith? Or are we even there? Or are we even nowhere near such a stage in our spiritual journey? In the gospel, sa atin pong ebanghelyo, Jesus simply reinforced this reality about the God who is in control. Kita po ninyo, He hushed, pinatahimik po niya. He hushed the violent storm and waves like a restless baby. Parang yung kinatatakutan nung mga mangingisda, mandaragat, because many of his disciples were also fishermen, remember? Yung kinatatakutan nila na, uy, ano to, lalamunin tayo ng dagat. Para sa Panginoon, He treated the strong winds and the storm like a restless baby. No wonder earlier Jesus was sleeping like a baby. And it caused the disciples after the event to ask, who then is this? Sino ito? Whom even wind and sea obey. And this is also the same question in our faith and spiritual journeys, my dear friends, that we need to ask ourselves, sino itong Jesus na ito? Sino itong manunubos at Panginoon na ito sa buhay ko? Sino siya? Pambihirang kapangyarihan, Lodi. Jesus in our gospel today shows that He is part of this Creator God. He shows us emphatically by being unperturbed and undisturbed. Kaya nga natutulog. Magaling ang Panginoon kung mag-drive home ng point. He triumphs over these chaotic primordial waters. Kumbaga parang sinasabi ng Panginoon, kayong nakakita ngayon nitong aking ginawa, klaro na ba? May tanong pa ba kayo? Gets na ba? Parang tinatanong ng Panginoon, may hihirit pa? Remember in the Exodus story, in the Old Testament, the parting of the Red Sea, tubig uli, dagat uli. Sino may kagagawan nun? Kay Noe, doon po sa delubyo, Noah and the flood. Sinong kumalma sa nag-aalburutong mapinsalang baha? Sino? Kaya naalala ko po tuloy sa mga seminaryo po namin yung kanta, yung awit ng isang alagad by Ronald Serran. Favorite po itong tinutugtog. Kahit minsan nakukumbida ako sa seminaryo mag-preside over a mass, kinakanta po ito ng mga seminaryo. Ang ganda nga naman talaga ng lyrics po. Yung kantang, Panginoon ko, ang buhay mong bigay, ay minsan lang nagdaraan sa akin, ang buhay ko ihahandog sa iyo. Pero ang talaga pong panalo ay yung second refrain ata. Papikit-pikit pa. Yung kumakanta naming mga seminarista from all levels, philosophies, mismo minsan paglingon ko dun sa celebrating priest, nakapikit pa. Kasi ang ganda, tingnan po ninyo na andun yung elements nung nature. Tanging pangarap ko, sana'y bigyang daan. Tingnan po ninyo yung next lyrics. Sa landas ko'y hawiin ang buhawi ng gulo. ang ulap na nagsisilbing dilim sa langit ko, tunawin at gawing ulan, laan sa buhay kong tigang, ako'y muling ibangon mo. Ganda! Ano po? Kaya pag nakita po ninyo yung mga seminarista, madre, kahit nga po sa asilo, kinakanta ito, naglalabasan yung litid, wala pa akong pandemya. Mga laway, nagtatalsika na, aerosol. Opo, talagang kakalat at kakalat. Pag ang inspirasyon, hindi ho kung anong uri ng virus o virus ang kumakalat. Pag ito po ang kinakanta, tapos yung bandang huli ng lyrics, at umasa kang ako'y maglilingkod sa'yo. Ito po ang ating inuunawa, hindi lang po yung mga bagyo, unos, buhawi, ulap sa buhay. Ang sinisikap paunawa sa atin ng Panginoon ay kung paano po natin siya kinikilalang may puwersa at may kontrol sa mundong ating ginagalawan. Ito po, masasabi ng mga kasama ko sa community, gasgas na kwento. Doon pa rin po sa isla. Pero I love telling this very personal story because I was in the middle of the storm. Niyuyugyug yung amin pong lansya, kapit. Kung may makakapitan ko, ano mahahawakan. Kung naman po, sigaw ng sigaw, Panginoon, tulungan mo kami. Mag-New Year pa naman. Kaya ang sama-sama ng biyahe ho namin pa uwi, hindi ko na ho talaga akalaing makakarating pa kami ng buhay. Ginoo, luwasa kami. May katabi akong lalaki, nakakapit din. Sagot ko pag sigaw ko ng, Ginoo, Panginoon! Ay, Jawa. Yung katabi ko, Jawa. Panginoon! Jawa. Kasi Bolanong salita namin doon. Ang kita mo to si Kuya. Emote na ako, nagtatawag ng kakampi. Siya naman nagtatawag ng kanyang mga katropa. Pasaway, ano po? Pero this is always, if we have the primordial seas, and chaos, we have the primordial conflict between good and evil, faith and disbelief. So the heart of the message for all of us this Sunday is that an important part of this storm story can be found of all places in the second reading from the second letter of Paul to the Corinthians. No mention of seas, because that's not what's important. In the second reading, Paul mentions about another power. Paul mentions about another force, far greater than the stormy waters and chaotic seas of the creation story, the parting of the Red Sea, or the deluge in Noah's time. At ano po yung another force, another power? St. Paul wrote, the love of Christ that impels us, far greater than the forces of nature. Paul insists that love completely transforms us, mind and heart. Eh tingnan po ninyo yung mister na hindi marunong maglaba, natuto sa pagmamahal sa asawa at kanyang supling. Buti kamukha niya yung anak. Kaya siguro inspired. Ano po? Dati, masasabi po natin in our very own experiences, dati bulagsak yan. Dati burarayan. Dati pabayayan. O nadinig nyo na po yung isang salita doon. Dati buhalhal yan. Walang pakialam sa buhay. Ngayon, kung bidainom uminom, bukas. Susunod na lang, mga parikoy. Maaga pa ako sa trabaho bukas. Dahil may pamilyang minamahal. Father's Day. May tatay na minamahal, nagsasakripisyo, proof that real love transforms us inside out if we really allow this love to transform us. That is why Paul keeps on shouting, so to speak, from the rooftop, makumbinsi na tayo in the midst of these chaotic seas and circumstances in our life, amidst the problems, the love of Christ impels us. Another example po, sa totoong tumitingin na itong pagpapari po namin or call to the religious life, ay pagmamahal ng Diyos. Sample po, yung mga dating mga makasarili at swapang at mga dupang at sakim, sakit sa tenga, ano po? Natututong maghanap ng paraang magmahal din. Bakit pa ho tayo mga Vincentians lalayo? Ang pinaka-example po natin nito si Saint Vincent de Paul himself. He wanted to become a priest and did become a priest dahil yung kanyang ulterior motives makasarili. Siya ito eh. But look what became of him when he allowed the love of God to truly consume him. Naghanap din siya ng paraang magmahal. More powerful than the bagyo and hagupit at mga ulap na madidilim, mga buhawi na ating kinakanta. And with your indulgence and with the permission, bakit pa po tayo lalayo? Si Father Nelson Bisco. Kung kilala nyo po si Father Nelson, I'll put him on the spot. If you happen to chance upon Father Nelson doing his life testimony, because he is such an honest man, he will tell you from the bottom of his heart, siya po ay nagpakadalubhasa. May PhD ho yata ito si Father Nelson. Sinasabi niya, earlier in his life, siya ay nagpakadalubhasa sa saklaan ng Cainta, Rizal. Kaya po bumili si Father Nelson sa kakatakbo sa basketball. Hindi mo mahahabol yan eh. Kasi laging hinahabol ng kanyang nanay at tatay, babatukan tsaka kakaltukan. Sino pong mag-aakalang manager ng siya ngayon ng Vincent Connects? Ano po? Si Saklaan Boy, ngayon po nagsisikap maglingkod bilang isang totoong Vincentiano. See how love can transform us. And we dare to say, in love, we no longer give insult for insult. We refrain from returning violence for violence, or even consider retaliating in exchange for any harm done. Why? Because there is transformation. God leads us to a new way, a new understanding, a deeper appreciation of who we can be and what we can do because God loves us and He is in control. Hopefully po, mas kilalanin na natin ng Diyos na siyang may control sa buong sangnilikha. Matanggap na natin po sana siya kung sino talaga siya. And this is what maturing or growing in faith means. Hindi kung ano ang gusto nating imahe or larawan niya. At malunasan din po ang ating myopia, short-sightedness, na tila baga ang mundo umiikot na lang sa akin. Ako na lang ang importante. Bakit po? Sapagkat sa kadakilaang ito ng Diyos, minumulat din po niya tayo sa katotohanan. Kabahagi tayo sa mas malaki at dakilang plano ng Diyos. Kaya po tayo lumalabas sa ating mga sarili ngayong pandemya at pilit inaabot ang kapwa. Because this love cannot be contained. This cannot be selfish. Kaya po tayo nakikisangkot. Kaya po tayo nag-aabala at nagtataya para din sa iba. Kaya po tayo nagbibilad sa araw para maunawaan natin yung mga laging bilad sa init. Para magkakasama po tayong makadama ano ang totoong ibig sabihin ng maging hampas lupa o anak pawis. Pag hindi po natin yun nadama, ang liit-liit ng ating mundo, akala mo ikaw ang sentro. But this love makes us realize that we are part of a larger scheme in this great, beautiful world that God created. And so, my dear friends, as I conclude, maganda po, balikan natin yung ating mga sarili at ang ating mga pananampalataya. At tanungin po natin sa ating mga sarili, paano ko pa kaya palalaguin ang aking pananampalataya, lalo na sa harap ng mga unos, buhawi, at pagsubok sa araw-araw. May we always remember this gospel story today. Lagi nang nagpapakilala sa atin ang Diyos at kung sino siya, kinikilala nga ba natin? And the answer to our big questions can be found right in our very own church and respective communities, not outside of it. So let us grow in our faith communities, not elsewhere. Because as I end, my dear friends, God is bigger and certainly more powerful than our problems. Happy Father's Day din po. We pause for a moment. May God bless us all.